So we'll look into program control little bit so that we have that particular thing reviewed, that is from the last class, and then we'll continue with the functions. Okay. Okay. Program control, as I told in the previous class, all these program control C files and the loops, all those things are very similar to C program, or you can think of JavaScript, whichever. You can correlate with those things and you can understand. In case of a if else, this construct of if else is very similar to C programming, and in this case you will have a keyword if, and inside the bracket you will have the condition, and the condition will result it will get evaluated into true or false. So any expression, you can have any kind of expression that will and then the true block will be inside the curly braces. Inside this curly braces you will have the whatever the statements. If particular condition is true, that will get executed, and if you want to have just the if statement, that is fine. In case of a PHP, you need not have else if or the else block, those are optional. So if you want to do some action only if certain condition is true, you can include just the if statement. Or if you have multiple paths, then you can use the else if, then you can use the multiple branching. In that case, the keyword for else is else, similar to C programming, space if, then you will have the second condition. And if this condition is true, then it will get into this block. Let us say the first condition is false. If this is false, it will come to else. Again, you have if, the condition will be checked, and this set of code will be executed. And let us say if this condition is false, and this is the last option you want to have, or if you want to have more option, you can include one more else if, right? And when you have the last option, if this condition is false, then you have the else block, that is the last block. And as I told you, this particular else if and else are optional. What you need is minimum if statement is required. And there is an alternate way to do that. You can see here, this is the PHP code, and it's a mix of the PHP as well as the HTML. You can see the first line is the PHP code. Whenever you want to include the PHP code, you will have a starting PHP tag and closing PHP tag. So starting PHP tag is the opening angle bracket question mark PHP keyword, and closing PHP tag is a question mark, then closing angle bracket. Inside that you will have the PHP code. You can see here, if user status, this is a variable, dollar user status is equal to logged in. You are checking whether particular user is logged in. This is the opening of the true block, and this is the end of the first PHP statement. Then we have these two are a HTML code, right? HTML tags are there. Link, it will provide a link. How you will see it on the page, the content would be account, and it will have a hyperlink. And if you click on that, it will take you to the some account related information you want to display, that will be in this particular PHP code. And let us say when it will come here, when user status is logged in, means user has already logged in, and if he is logged in, he should have an option to log out. And when user click on that link, it will take you to the logout.php, and whatever the processing you want to do in that logout php, you will put that particular code in this particular php. And this is the true block. For having a else block, again you have one more PHP code here, right? This is the start, this is the end. In between, this is the closing bracket for the true block, else, opening bracket for the false block. After that, you have two more option, that is HTML tags, link tags. One is login, register. If user is not logged in, you will prompt him to log in. When he click on the login, it will take you to the login.php, where you will show like a user ID, password, things like that. If the other option that you will show is register, if user is not having an account, then he will click on the register, and register.php will paint a page which will take the registration information. This is the end of the HTML. Then last line is again PHP code with a just closing bracket for the false block, and this is equivalent to this one. In this whatever this particular piece of code is doing, exactly this will do. But if you see this particular code, it is little cleaner. We have a starting PHP code here, ending PHP code here. Inside that I have only PHP code. And I told you, whenever you want to display something to the output something to the browser, you will use the echo function, and inside the double quote, whatever the information you want to whatever the HTML tag you want to echo to the browser, you will include that. So same here, if user status is logged in, then echo whatever the HTML tag it is here, this complete, that is inside here single quotes. And as you've seen before, echo can be used with a single quote or double quote. Since a double quote is used inside, here it is single quote is used. If you want to use the double quote, what is the option? You will have a escape sequence here, backslash double quotes, backslash double quotes. Else you have other two HTML tags, whatever you have. So this is another way of doing it. Then switch, as we know, a switch is a multi branching control structure, where based on the value you can branch to the multiple branches. Switch is the keyword, and art type, $r type, whatever the value is evaluated, that value is compared with this case values. So we have case is again a keyword, followed by inside the double quotes you have some kind of a value or the text. This value or type is compared with this particular text. If it matches, then it will directly get into that particular case, then it will execute the code and it will break. When it breaks, it will go to the statement which is next to the switch statement. So it will compare the evaluated value of this particular variable with the case values. Every case will have some kind of a value. If it compares, it will go to that case, execute all the code, and break. If there is a break, it will break out of the switch statement. And whether break is mandatory? No, it is not mandatory. If you want to restrict the code to only execute for what it is matching, you will put a break. Otherwise, if you don't put the break, it will just flow through until it sees a end of the statement or until it sees a break. If it doesn't match, in this case, I have case for PT and SC. If it doesn't match for the painting or the sculpture, then it will go to default. Let us say this has some other value MD, it will come to the default. And default is also optional. If you want to, if you choose to have the default, you can include, otherwise you can omit. In that case, what happens, if it doesn't match any cases, it will go to the end of the switch. So it will not match with any case, it will go to the next statement. This particular code is similarly we can implement using the else if statement. Here you can see, if r type is equal to pt, it will get executed. Else it will check whether it is sc, it will execute that. If it is not PT or SE, it will go to the other, which is very similar to this one. Even though functioning is similar, the way the execution happens is different. Why? In case of a switch, whatever the value is matched, let us say if the value is SC, the execution will directly go to this case and it will execute and it will break. But in case of a else if statement, even though this value is SC, first statement is compared. SC is equal to PT, false. Then it will come here. SC is equal to SC, true. It will execute this and then it will come out. If this value doesn't match anything, in this case directly it will go to default. Here it will go through all the condition. Here it will be, if I choose MD, it will check here false, it will come here, it will check here again, the condition is false, then it will come to the last option, that is like a default in case of a switch. While, do while, These are the looping statements that are available. In case of a while, this is the keyword, and inside the bracket you have the condition. If this condition is true, then it will execute the set of code that is inside the two curly braces. Here example, dollar count is equal to 0, dollar count less than 10. As long as this is true, now it is true, inside you are just echoing that particular value, echo 0, then count plus plus, you are incrementing. So once this gets completed, again it will go and check the condition. Now value is 1, condition is true, again it will execute. So as long as this value becomes a 10, 10 less than 10 is false, it will come out. What it will do is it will print 0 to 10, it will output 0 to 10. And another, in case of a while, there is a chance that this particular body of the while may not get executed. Let us say on the first instance itself, if this condition is false, it will not execute this code even once. But in case of a do, there is a guarantee that whatever is the in the body of that particular loop, at least it will get executed once. So initialize count is equal to 0, then do, it will execute these statements, and then the condition is checked. Okay, and you should note that there is a semicolon in case of a do while after the while. So if this condition is true, again it will go back and execute. This statements, whatever is inside the curly braces, will get executed as long as this particular condition is true. For loop, very similar to the C programming. For is the keyword inside the brackets. First part is the initialization, second one is the condition, then third one is the increment part. When for loop starts getting executed, first thing it will do is the initialization. So dollar count is equal to 0. This is executed only when the for loop execution starts for the first time. Then count is equal to 0 is assigned, then it will check the condition whether this condition is true. 0 less than 10 is a true. If this condition is true, whatever is inside the body, these curly braces, it will get executed. Here we are just echoing the value of the count. Then once this is complete, it will go to the increment. It will increment the value count plus plus. In this case, we are incrementing by 1. It will increment value of the count to 1. After incrementing, it will check the condition again. 1 less than 10. If it is true, it will get executed. Again, it will increment, check the condition. It will go as long as the condition is true. When the condition is false, it will go to the statement which is after the for statement. So similarly, there is a alternate structures given for the some of these controls. What it will happen? This is very similar to Python, where they use the colon to replace the opening curly bracket, and there is some keyword for the closing. In case of a Python, for there is nothing for the closing. Indentation is used, so that is how it will come to know what is the close. You can see here, this is the start of the PHP code, this is the end. Inside I have if condition, then you see colon instead of a open bracket, I have a colon, then you have HTML. Then if you observe here, I don't have the closing because just I used the colon here. Then else, again colon. For the opening bracket I will use the colon. For the closing bracket, here I will use end if. Similarly, if you are using for while, you will use end while, end for each, ends, end switch. So those are the closing tags you can use. And one great advantage of PHP is where we can combine different PHPs. Okay, so we can have the functionality separated out, and using just include, we can include all those PHP. How to include? There are 4 ways. Include space inside the double quotes, you will specify what PHP file should be included, followed by the semicolon. And similarly, you can use include underscore once, require underscore once, and you can specify the file to be PHP file to be included inside the double quotes, followed by a semicolon. Okay, it talks about the scope. When you include the particular file, wherever you include, from that particular point the scope will start. Include, you can just think as wherever you include the file, it is as good as pasting that file. Okay, whatever is the content of that page php, it will be pasted at that particular place, and the scope is decided according to that. And let us say if you have included a file inside a function, it is as if inside the function you have pasted the whole thing. So whatever the function has, it will see the whole, it will be visible completely inside that particular function, because it will be pasted inside the function. That is the visibility you will get functions. Functions, the conceptually functions are similar to every other language. When do we use functions? Normally we don't put every code in the main program, right? Why we have to use functions is to make the application more modular. More modular is like, either you will take out a similar looking functionality into a different functions, or if something is repeatedly being called, that part of a code you will move it as a function, so that in the main function it will be very easy to understand how the program flow is. And looking at each of these function, we will know what these each particular function will do. If you include everything in the main page, it is very difficult to maintain and difficult to understand the code. Just as with any language, writing code in the main function, which is a PHP, is equivalent to coding in the markup between starting PHP tag and the closing PHP tag, is not a good habit to get into. So we should not be writing everything in the main PHP. We should use functions so that we can make this particular application as a modular. A function in PHP contains small bit of code that accomplishes one thing. If in PHP there are two types of functions, these are similar to other language: user-defined functions and the built-in function. What is user-defined function? User-defined functions are the one that a particular programmer will write according to his needs, according to his requirement. He will write his own function. And built-in function, that is the one that is provided by the environment. So there are a lot of common functionality that is required. Let us say you are handling a file, opening a file, writing into the file, reading from the file. All those things are the common functionality that will be available as the PHP environment, and those are called as a built-in function. So you need not write a piece of code to how to open the particular file. You can directly use the built-in function and open the file and do the required operations. This is the example. In case of PHP, you will use the keyword function, and you will give the name, followed by followed by the brackets with optional parameters, opening bracket, closing bracket, and you can have the whatever the processing you want to do inside that particular function. You can write in this particular function, the name is get nice time. Here it is returning a date object, so it will return the whatever the current time. Return date with this format: h, time, minutes and second. In that format it will return to the caller. So PHP functions need not have, there is no requirement that it should return something. So you can have a function that will not return, but maybe it will paint the page or do some other activity, and it will not return any values. This is the example where the function will not return anything. Function output footer menu, then empty brackets, opening curly brace, closing curly brace. Here what we have is a echo. So this is what we are going to output to the browser, and we have the set of HTML tags inside the single quotes followed by the semicolon. So what we have here is, we have a division element with the id is equal to footer, and inside the division I have a link href hash home. Then I have a pipe, I have another link after that pipe sign, and href hash products, and this is the closing link tag. And the third one is, I have two more links here: about and about us and contact us and closing of the division. So when this particular function get executed, what you will see on the browser is you will see a home, okay, with the pipe, products with the pipe. On the next line you will see about us. So all these are links, and pipe, then you have contact us, those are the text. When you click on that, so here in this particular example they have used a hash. Nothing means it will take you to the top of the page. How to call a function? Now that you have defined a function, you are able to use it whenever you want. To call the function, you must use its name with the brackets. So whenever we are calling a function, we have to give the name with the brackets with optional parameters. Example we have created just now, here we created the get nice time function. If you want to call that, you will call like this, because this function is going to return some value. You are having a variable called output. Dollar output is equal to get nice time, okay, empty brackets and semicolon. What output will have? Output will have a the date object. That date object will be stored in the output. Or this is, you are storing it in the variable, or you can directly echo it to the browser. So what you will do, echo get nice time and empty brackets semicolon. Wherever you are calling that echo, there it will display on the browser, it will display the time in the format that is given, hour, minute and second. If the function does not return a value, you can just call the function. So this particular method did not return any value. When you call this output footer menu, this is the output footer menu. What you will see on the browser is you will see the text home with the hyperlink, pipe sign, products. On the next line you will see about us as a link, pipeline, then contact us. That is what you will going to see on the page. Parameters are the mechanism by which the values are passed into functions. So you know about the parameters, very similar to the functions that are used in a C programming. How you send the parameter, how you receive the parameter, it is exactly the same. To define a function with parameters, you must decide how many parameters you want to pass in and in what order they will be passed. Each parameter must be named. So we'll see the example. This is the example. In this particular example, we are sending one parameter here, dollar show seconds, whether you want to show the seconds or not. So you are giving that as a parameter. When you call this particular function, you have to give this particular value. So this particular value is checked if dollar show seconds, whatever the value that is coming here, that will be checked with whether it is a true. Means true means what? uh, I want to show seconds also. If this condition is false, okay, if this condition is true, what I am returning, date, hour, this is the format, hour, minute and second. If this condition is false, means what? Don't show the seconds. Then return date, hour and minute. So that is how we can do it. You can see the calling here. Either you can call echo get nice time. This one represents the true value. Okay, either you can use the boolean true or you can use the value one. It represents the true value and zero represents the false. Since you are calling echo get nice time function with a value 1, it will display the time with the seconds. In this particular case where you are passing the parameter as 0, it will display the time without the seconds. It will just display hour and the minute. Can we set default values for the parameter? Yes. Suppose what is the default value? Let us say when while calling the function you did not specify the parameter, then you can set some default parameter value when you are declaring the function. So this is the function declaration. At function declaration, you will specify dollar show seconds is equal to 1. If a particular function is called without the parameter, then this is the default value that will be chosen. So it will the display would be hour, minute, and the second. Now if you were to call the function with no values, the dollar show second parameter would take on the default value. What is the default value? That is true, which have to set 1 and return the string with the seconds. Suppose when you think like user will not provide a value and you want to have some default, then you can use the default value. Pass parameters by value. By default, arguments passed functions are passed by value. You understand what is passed by value and what is passed by reference. Passed by value is you are sending one more copy, okay, one more copy of the data. You are not sending the actual reference to the variable which is getting passed. You will send as a copy. This means PHP passes a copy of a variable. So if the parameter is modified within the function, it does not change the original. You already know how the pass by value works. From the calling function, I send some value, okay, as a parameter, as a pass by value. A copy will be sent to the function, and inside the function, if they change that particular value, it will not have any impact on the variable that I have on the calling side. This is the example. There is a function defined, function space name of the function, change parameter. Inside the parameter I have a one parameter, inside the bracket I have one parameter, $arg. Then I have open curly brace, closing curly brace, and arg plus is equal to 300 semicolon. This is like similar to C programming. This operator is r. This is like arg is equal to arg plus 300. Whatever the value that this function is getting, it is adding 300 more to it. Echo, then you are displaying it on the browser. Echo inside the double quotes. So break will give a one line. It will go to the next line. Arg is equal to, this dot is a representation of a concatenation. This side it is a string. This string is concatenated with this value. Let us say this argument is 100 plus 300, 400. 400 will be concatenated and it will be displayed on the browser. Dollar initial is equal to 15. Okay, this is the initial 15. Echo br break, that will give a one line feed. Initial is equal to value of this. So on the browser, what is displayed? Initial is equal to 15 is displayed. So output is this, initial is equal to 15. Now we call the change parameter program and we pass $initial. So $initial value is 15. A copy is sent, and inside when this function is called, 15 will come here. 15 plus 300, 315. It will print arg is equal to 315. That is what the output, arg is equal to 315. When you come back to the calling function, this is the caller. Here again you display the value, echo with one line, next line, initial is equal to dot initial concatenation. Initial value will not change, it will be 15. It will display initial is equal to 15. And there is another way to do pass the parameter. You already know, pass by reference. Instead of sending another copy of the data, what you will do, you will give the reference to the passing variable. Whatever the variable you are passing to the function, you will give the reference, means you will give the address where that particular value is stored. PHP also allows our argument to functions to be passed by reference, which will allow functions to change the contents of a passed variable. Okay, if a parameter is passed as a by reference, if inside the function, if that value is changed, definitely that change will reflect in the caller program also. The mechanism in PHP to specify the parameter is passed by reference is to add an ampersand. We'll add ampersand symbol next to the parameter name in the function declaration. So you can see here, this is the function declaration, and there is no change except the way parameter is passed. You can see ampersand. This means what? This parameter is passed as a by reference. Now inside the calling function, same set of code. we are calling change parameter dollar initial. We are sending this 15 value here, and we see that this variable is sent to the function, and uh, now this argument takes the address of that. So at that address it will replace this value, right? 15 plus 300, it will replace earlier 15 value stored. 15 plus 315 will be replaced at that particular address, and it will print it as 315. So you can see 315. Now it comes, control comes back to the calling program, echo dollar initial value. Now it is already changed. Why it is changed? It is changed inside the function. If you print that value, it will print initial is equal to 350. So this is the example value versus reference. Initial value, it is 15, and echo, you are showing the 15. Change the parameter, so initial will be 15, right? Because it is called as this is pass by value. The function declaration is like that. This particular example, it will not affect the value of the initial, but in the second case you are sending it as a pass by reference. Now you can see the initial value is 15, and the address is given to the this particular function. Then using that address, it will replace the value 315. That is what will be reflected here, and when you display that value, you will display it as 350. Variable scope in function. All variables defined within a function, such as parameter variables, have function scope, meaning that they are only accessible within the function. If you declare any kind of a variable inside the function, their scope is a function scope, means it is limited. The minute you go beyond that function, its scope ends, means you cannot access those variables outside. Any variable created outside of the function in the main script are unavailable within the function. So another thing is, in the main script, if you have create any kind of a variable, those things will not be also available inside the particular function. Count, this is the example, count is equal to 56. Function test scope. If I say echo dollar count, outputs 0 or generates a runtime based on how it is implemented. If by default it will assign the value of 0 whenever it sees a dollar count. If the browser is handling like that, then you won't you will see the output as 0. Otherwise, if it needs some kind of assignment, then you will get a runtime error or warning. Because why it is happening is, this dollar count variable is not visible inside the any function. Test scope, we are calling the test scope, and we are outputting this. Either you will get the error, or it will display 0 and echo dollar count. So this is outside the this function. That is, these statements are in the main script where you are calling the telescope, sorry, test scope. How to make particular variable visible? So by making it as a global variable. Variable defined in the main scripts are said to have global scope. Unlike in other programming languages, a global variable is not by default available within the function. PHP does allow variable with a global scope to be accessed within such function using the global keyword. So in other languages, whenever you have the variable declared in the calling script, that will automatically have the visibility of that particular script, means it is global in that script. If there are functions inside that script, automatically it will be visible there. In PHP, it is not as a default feature. If you want to see those global variables, their scope is global. If you want to see them, you have to use the global keyword. How you will do with that? Count is equal to 56 is in the main script. I have a function. Now I say global dollar count here. Now when I say global dollar count, this particular variable will be visible inside, and if I do echo dollar count, it will output 56. Now in this particular case, when you say test scope, it will output outputs 56. When you say echo dollar count, it will output 56. So that is the end of the third module.